do you have any regrets in leaving Indiana when you left? Because I personally think that team could have won a championship.
Yeah, big regrets. I was young and dumb. I always tell people don't request trades. I always tell people it's not always greener on the other side. As a basketball players, it goes in phases, and we all are entitled players at times. And I was a very entitled player. So when I don't get my way, I request trades. I wish I would have saw it through. I wish I would have had the ability and the strength to understand that things get better. If you just have a little patience. But as a 23-year-old, I wasn't looking at it like that. And I definitely regret it. I tried to get back to Indiana, actually, right before I got to the Lakers. I was trying to get back to Indiana, but so much happened. They didn't want to take it back.
That's interesting, and obviously that leads what sparked that was the Malice at the Palace. I actually had the opportunity of playing with Jermaine O'Neal my second year in the league, one of my OGs. And he told us a story. We obviously were all asking about the Malice at the Palace. As a kid, growing up in Saginaw, Michigan, I remember that like it was yesterday. I'm watching the guy. I knew guys on the floor and all type of stuff. So I'm like, yo, what's going on? But I was talking to Jermaine, and he said, man, one thing I loved about our team was we was really a bunch of crazy motherfuckers. Like, that's how Jermaine explained it to me. Like, we were a bunch of crazy motherfuckers. He said, we had Stack Jack and we had Ron. He said after the brawl, we walk into the locker room and Ron come in and say, yo, y'all think we're going to get suspended? He said, y'all think we're going to, do you remember that? Like, is that true?
I remember that because, I'm used to if somebody, you get in a fight, it's over because, especially if you didn't start the fight. Mm-hmm. I did everything in my power. I remember that day trying to do everything in my power to not get in any trouble because even 3 years into the league, I was getting ejections, suspensions. And I'm like, I just want to have a good season. I just want to continue this legacy. And so I didn't expect to get in that brawl that day. I expected to come out of there clean, And then when I get to the locker room, I'm just like, is this really happening? Like, I just could not believe it. I go to the scorer's table. I lay down. Ben's throwing his headbands. I'm just sitting there, and I'm just, and then boom, this guy throws a cup of beer, and then I just snap, right? And then I'm just like, what just happened within 5-10 minutes? Maybe 8 minutes?
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
That's interesting. It's funny because I had a situation, about 5-6 years ago now, back in East Lansing. And I was telling some friends of mine, I said, yo, I've been in a lot of situations, and whatever happened in the situation, I probably caused it a little bit with my attitude. I said, but this was the one time I actually held it together this time. I held it together. I didn't do anything. I retreated, went back. The next day, same guy come at me again. I did everything in my power, and that's the one day that it actually goes wrong is the day that I try to hold it together. So it's funny to hear that. But so that transpires. You get suspended for the rest of the season, and then everything happens with Jermaine gets his suspension, Stack gets his suspension. We never get to see the true potential of that team realize. Yeah. You move on, couple stops, and then you end up with the Lakers. And I think that's where, if you tell me, but I feel like that's where your career really took a turn, where you were respected, all-star, all of those things, but then you get to the Lakers playing with Kobe. Explain that journey to me and how everything changed for you, especially perception-wise of Ron Artest's Metta World Peace once you went to the Lakers.
Well, it actually started out with Sacramento. So when I got the sack after Indiana, and I was going to retire actually that year, I put in my papers. So then I get to Sacramento, and I go to Coach Adelman, and I'm like, yo, Coach, I'm 273 pounds right now. I'm really not interested in playing. I was like, I don't want to make a big deal out of this, but if you could somehow, keep me on the bench and, I'll be there, but I'm trying to ease my way out of this thing, right? So he said, Ron, I was trying to ease my way out, right? So he said, Ron, we going to go as far as you take us. You playing, we're going to go as far as you take us. That's what Coach Adelman tells me. So we in the last place in the West. So I go home that night, and I start to think about it, put it in perspective. I come back next day, And I said, you know what, we're going to the playoffs. And like media laughed or whatever. We go to the playoffs, almost beat the Spurs in the playoffs. And then, but that right there really, got the love back. And then just being around Coach Adam, and he's like a father figure. So being around Coach Adam, and I was able to just like kind of get the love and kind of respect the game more. And then I went to play for him again in Houston. I kind of played pretty well there, and my game was coming back because I had a couple years where I got suspended. Then the next year, I got suspended again by the team. Nobody really realized that. I got suspended again for 3 months.
Really?
Yeah, but I was suspended for the first 3 months of the season. The next year.
Wow.
Wow. Then I didn't play no more for the Pacers. Then I went to Sacramento. So that's like 2 years of like, I was in shape right before the brawl. I was like, so, it was when I got to Houston, then I was like prime. I was averaging 25 in the playoffs against the Lakers. I was back to myself. Then I go to the Lakers the next year. In my prime, I was 29, but I'm playing with the greatest and I'm playing with Powell. Right. So with that being said, my average dropped to like 6. And then that was it. Like that was all she wrote. But the thing what I really love about that moment was I was able to take away the entitled run on test and sacrifice for the team. And I just did everything I had to do. I was spotted up, plenty of time, just not touching the ball, but I tried to do everything the right way. And that was the most proud I was of my career because, I accepted, something I'm not used to, which I started everywhere I went. I was like go-to guy, all this stuff. And then I had to accept the role. And then I was like, okay, now I'm maturing. I realized right then and there that I was maturing.